Stuart Charity, how would the portal benefit the consumers of Australia who owns 13.7 million cars?
Well, the way the portal works is that every car company that would be operating and selling cars in the Australian market would make available an internet-based information portal which catalogues all the repair and service information required to service vehicles on Australian roads. It's available on a daily, monthly or annual subscription basis, on a fee-for-service basis, and it means that all repairers operating in the market can get all the vehicle repair and related information they need to be able to successfully and safely repair those vehicles. It benefits consumers because a consumer will be safe in the knowledge that their preferred repairer, and they may choose that repairer based on proximity, on service, on relationships, on price, whatever it is, that they'll know that the repairer that they've chosen has all the information and tools they need to be able to complete that repair.
Stuart, this portal has been in the USA for about 3 years. The big question that I think is on everyone's mind, why not Australia?
Well, it's a good question because the same companies that operate in the Australian market are operating in the US market. There's a successful model there. It's self-funding, and as far as we're concerned, all that's required by the car companies is to populate the existing infrastructure, the existing portals with Australian vehicle information and put an Australian paywall on it. We don't believe that they're doing it because they're not required to do it. They haven't been forced to do it by government as they have in the US, in Canada and in Europe, and there's a strong commercial advantage in not being required to do it, because they know that with the rapidly advancing technology on vehicles, if they're not forced to share that information, that they'll be put in a position and have the power to hold consumers into their dealerships for as long as they like.
Stuart, what really is stopping this from happening here in Australia?
The thing that's stopping it happening in Australia, I think, is that we understand that Australian governments of all persuasions don't want to go to regulation as a first step. They always want to give industry time to self-regulate. As we've now been on a 7-year journey, we signed a voluntary agreement 15 months ago. In the lead up to that, there was a year-long negotiations. It was a 2-year inquiry. So the car industry's had about 5 years warning that this is on the horizon. They've had ample opportunity to comply, and they haven't. In fact, they've just paid lip service to the voluntary agreement. So we now believe it's time for the Minister to act in the national interest and mandate a prescribed code under the Competition and Consumer Act, which will require every car company selling vehicles in Australia to share repair and service information with independent repairers. And that would bring us exactly in line with the same arrangements that are happening to the same companies in other markets around the world.
If the government made a decision to announce this, that they were going to do it, how long would it take to implement and what would it cost?
We think it would take around 12 months to implement. The Minister would need to announce that she was implementing a prescribed code. There would need to be a regulatory impact statement process, and all stakeholders would be given time to provide input into that. So that would take about a 12-month period. The government would need to issue or to form a statutory authority to oversee this. But if we follow the US model, it won't cost government anything because the model is actually self-funding. So independent repairers will pay a registration fee to be involved and to get security clearance to access the information. That licence fee will fund the operations of the statutory authority, and as I said, the car companies get a revenue stream from this, so they're not giving the information away, they're generating revenue from it. So it really is light touch regulation for the government, because it doesn't cost the budget anything, and we're not asking for any more or any less than these same companies are providing in other markets.
Stuart, just finally, how much does the repair industry contribute to the national economy, and how many people does it employ?
In any given year, consumers spend around $15 billion on repair and service and parts expenditure. So it's a major part of car ownership. Costs are a major part of every household budget. Cars are a critical way of getting around Australia, we have one of the highest rates of car ownership anywhere in the world, which really emphasises the importance of cars to the Australian economy. Our industry employs 300,000 Australians all around in rural and regional Australia. At the moment, the footprint of the independent repair industry is 7 times that of the dealership networks. So this is a massive issue both for every Australian car owner, for our industry. If something isn't done, we're going to see tens of thousands of independent repairers go out of business, and that will harm competition, and the loser in the end will be every Australian car owner.
Thank you, Stuart.